Hello, it's Friday, September 25th, 9:31 p.m. Let's check out some more news, some numbers. So today's Friday, so the numbers tend to go down on the weekend. So this is going to be the last day of the week to get a grasp of some of the real numbers, I suppose. So wow, 318K today for world new cases. India number one with 85K, USA second, 53K, Brazil third, 32K, France fourth, 15K. Yeah, France is really blowing up. It's very concerning. Then we got Argentina, Colombia, Russia. In terms of deaths, uh, India number one, 1,093. USA second, 895. Brazil third, 826. Mexico fourth, 490. So deaths are just. We're about to hit 1 million deaths pretty soon. If we look at the graph. Yeah, 993K. I mean, the propaganda of having 1 million deaths, you can just imagine the reaction of the world. They might take it more seriously because, and as we all should know, it's way beyond 1 million at this point. It's just barely catching up, but as we all know, the numbers are compromised. Now we can go USA state by state. So Texas first with 4K, California second 4K, Florida third almost 3K, Illinois third almost 3K. Now with Texas, there would, I think I mentioned it yesterday, was it? That Texas may have a more infectious strain, which could explain the higher cases. In terms of deaths, California number one, 133, Florida second, 120, third is Texas, 97, fourth, Georgia, 52. Now, I do want to look at California and see where the deaths came from, because that's very alarming for that state, which is my state. So, of course, LA, number one, only 33 deaths. So, who was it? Oh, Orange, Fresno, and Riverside kind of just ganged up. Oh, people just dying everywhere. I guess that's what it is. Now, anyhow, let's look at today's news. September 25th news, USA. New wave of SARS-2 cases builds in U.S. Meanwhile, Florida to lift all SARS-2 restrictions on restaurants, bars. Virginia Governor Northam and First Lady Pamela have tested positive for SARS-2, announced today, Friday. SARS-2 cases rising in 5 New Jersey counties, and Ocean is the biggest concern, officials say. Folks, this is clear evidence we are not out of the woods, Governor Phil Murphy said during his latest SARS-2 briefing in Trenton. Murphy extends New Jersey's coronavirus public health emergency another 30 days. State of emergency stays in effect. Healthy college student fighting for his life after contracting SARS-2. A 21-year-old Austin college student is fighting for his life after contracting SARS-2. Chris Miller was diagnosed with the virus last month and has since developed a cascade of complications that his family said have left them unconscious and reliant on a ventilator to breathe. It is so bad right now that they are talking about removing a portion of his right lung, said his sister Honoria Bush. We are talking about someone who is 21 who is about to go through a lobectomy if this lung complication continues to happen. As of Friday, he has now been unconscious for almost 3 weeks, and doctors have told the family he has a 50-50 chance of survival. Now, he is obese, but people who are very obese have been this. If you were to go into it and search, the world's heaviest man caught this virus and survived. So, explain that to me, please, if you can. Texas. State officials are investigating the county judge in Hays County after information surfaced among other allegations that he promoted questionable coronavirus antibody tests. The letter says Becerra may have committed several offenses, including abuse of official capacity, official oppression, misuse of official information, theft, misapplication of fiduciary property, tampering with a government record, and election code laws. I firmly believe this is not about testing, Smith told the Tribune. This is about a company who saw an opportunity to build their telemedicine business. Texas still being shady. More U.S. Two former leaders of a state-run veterans home in Massachusetts, where dozens of residents died in a SARS-2 outbreak, were indicted on criminal charges and face possible jail time. The state's top law enforcement official said Friday at least 76 veterans in the home died of SARS-2 as the novel coronavirus swept through the institution. An additional 84 residents and 80 staff members tested positive. We believe this is the first criminal case in the county brought against those involved in nursing homes during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I have one question for this. How about New York's government, New York's Cuomo, the one that sent sick people to the nursery to the nursing homes? He should be indicted too. People paraded him as a progressive for so long, but he was just as grimy as the rest of them. The U.S. has reported more than 7 million cases of SARS-2 as of Friday, a milestone that comes days after leading experts projected the virus spread was set to rapidly increase in coming months. But the U.S. death toll from the virus may almost double by January 1st amid a major winter surge. Yeah, we've all been talking about the winter. When Wuhan got hit hard in China, it was during the winter. How does this virus behave in the winter? That's one of the questions that a lot of us have. According to a projection by the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington, they warned that states would likely need to reenact restrictions to combat the virus spread. The recommendation came the same week as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis lifted all virus restrictions on restaurants and businesses, saying we're not closing anything going forward. It's pretty bold. More economy over the people. United Airlines to make SARS-2 rapid tests available to passengers starting on Hawaii route due to higher flight traffic. Passengers will have the choice of taking a rapid test from Abbott Labs at the airport the day of their flight, with results available in about 15 minutes, or using a mail-in test at home prior to travel. Those opting for the at-home test are advised to request the test kit 10 days prior to travel and submit their sample within 72 hours of their flight. Yeah, that's the future. You're gonna get tested on your flights. So if you can't, if you're waiting 14 days for a test, go take a flight. You get it instantly, and it's only 15 minutes. More USA. California SARS-2 update. State estimates SARS-2 related hospitalizations will rise 89% in the next months. State and local health experts have been warning for weeks about a potential rise in cases after Labor Day as people gathered for parties and barbecues. That's their own fault. And I'm not going to pity them. They can cry all they want. Gonna say, hate to say, I told you so. Galley said Friday's numbers could be the first indication of that trend. Man, I already mentioned it before. In the state's largest county, Los Angeles, health officials have reported this week that the transmission rate, the number of new cases seen for every current case, had risen above 1 for the first time in weeks. When that rate is above 1, said Gailey, SARS-2 will spread exponentially. I'm doomed. And I work in retail, so I'm extra doomed. Galley and other health officials across the country are worried about a twindemic. Once again, I talked about that before I vanished for a month. I warned about what I heard about the twindemic because it's coming. It's coming. SARS-2 will combine with seasonal flu. It's going to be devastating. Again, that could explain why Wuhan got hit so hard, in which a hospital system already taxed with COVID patients is overwhelmed when flu season hits, and some of those patients also need ICU care. SARS-2 antibodies found in small portion of Americans. Study says less than 10% of 28,000 dialysis patients in the U.S. had pathogen-fighting antibodies as of July. Researchers found... I gotta take that later. Okay, so experts say we're nowhere close to achieving herd immunity against SARS-2 in the United States. To get there, we will need 60 to 70% of the population to get an infection. What we do know is that the majority of Americans have not been infected. We're very, very far from the majority. Now, If we're going to achieve herd immunity in the U.S., we need at least 60 to 70% of the population to get infected. We have a minority currently infected, and we're already getting hit this hard. So if 70% of everybody in the U.S. got infected, it'll be worse than contagion. I could put it that way. World. As debate over Sweden's SARS-2 response continues, cases in the country are on the rise. The country's state epidemiologist warning this week that it was heading in the wrong direction as winter approaches. Sweden's public health body recorded 554 new SARS-2 cases Thursday, the highest since early July. Only last week, a World Health Organization official praised Sweden's unorthodox handling of the outbreak. Really. Boris Johnson took advice from Sweden's no-lockdown scientists before rejecting tougher SARS-2 restrictions. As the number of SARS-2 deaths worldwide looked set to pass 1 million within days, Rio de Janeiro delayed its annual carnival parade for the first time in a century because of Brazil's continued vulnerability in the pandemic. In Europe, the pandemic is worse now than at the March peak in several member countries. The European Union warned as governments reimposed drastic measures. France set a new record for daily new cases. Health authorities reported 16,000 new confirmed cases on Thursday, a significant increase from the previous record of 13,000, on setting a fourth all-time high of daily additional infections in 8 days. France is going to get hit very hard. Very, very hard. China will stop accepting import applications from Brazilian company Monteiro Indústria de Pescados Ltda for a week starting Saturday after a package of frozen hairtail fish tested positive for the coronavirus, the customs office said on Friday. UK report reports record number of new SARS-2 cases as cities locked down. Saw that coming. And Dr. Evely called it. UK scientists begin study of how long SARS-2 can survive in the air. On Monday, they will start launching tiny droplets of live SARS-CoV-2 and levitating them between two electric rings to test how long the airborne virus remains infectious under different environmental conditions. We'll look forward to that. CBG report number 89. Israel, a heavy target of SARS-2. Israel under lockdown as SARS-2 cases top 8,000 in a single day. Among the newly diagnosed, some 400 Jerusalem Yeshiva students who had attended Rosh Hashanah prayers together. The students, married and single, were transferred to coronavirus hotels. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement shortly before the start of the Shabbat, "It is not easy, neither in Israel nor in European countries, where the disease is also gaining tremendous momentum. Public transportation will operate in a limited format, mainly to allow essential and approved workers to get to and from their jobs. In general, people are being asked not to leave their homes at a distance of more than 1 kilometer, unless for an approved reason, such as to purchase food or obtain medicine. Upon arrival at the airport, travelers will be asked to present documentation of the date of purchase of their ticket. A valid ticket is possibly a negative coronavirus test, depending on the destination. The closure, which is expected to last 2 weeks or more, involves a number of restrictions on the public, including that people are prohibited from traveling more than 1 kilometer from their homes. Only those stores that provide essential products, food, pharmaceuticals, hygiene, optics, home maintenance, electrical, or communication can stay open. Swimming pools and gyms are closed, as are hairdressers and beauty salons. Hanging out at the beach is also forbidden unless for sport." Then what was the point of making it forbidden? And only then if the beach is within 1 kilometer from home. People cannot visit others' homes unless for an approved purpose. Police said they would be stepping up enforcement during this closure. On Thursday, police had already increased their efforts. The police said they issued some 4,239 tickets for people violating health ministry restrictions over the last day. CBG report number 88. I need help, I feel like I'm dying edition. San Diego woman shared SARS-2 stories. I kind of started preparing myself mentally for the possibility that this might be it for me, like I might die in my bed. Elisa Ortiz said. Ortiz, 37, was an essential worker at a grocery store. On March 28th, she remembers feeling off, and trying to fight off what we now know as obvious SARS-2 symptoms. But at the time, testing wasn't as robust and readily available as it is today, and she was unable to get tested. It gets to a point as your symptoms get worse and worse, you just feel, well, who's going to help me if the doctors aren't going to help me? Ortiz said. It's scary to just feel no one is there for you. Ortiz was forced to recover at home but developed gastrointestinal issues, fever, and nausea. She wasn't able to hold down food and lost 16 pounds. On April 12th, her fiance finally rushed her to an urgent care where she tested positive. It's probably the scariest experience I've had being sick in my life, Ortiz said. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. How many times have I read I wouldn't wish it on my first enemy? This has to be like the 10th time. It's horrible. 6 months after her original symptoms, Ortiz has made a slow, difficult recovery, but she still is dealing with other effects for combating the virus. I'd say the hardest part of the recovery has been the depression that I've gone through, difficulty finding support, and talking to people that have had the same experience as me, Ortiz said. She says without question, people should wear masks and social distance. She's disappointed at how the topic has been politicized. We said that months ago. I kind of struggle with how much energy I should put in telling people who don't believe in science to wear a mask, Ortiz said. And I just say to the people who aren't really sure about what's going on, just practice basic human empathy, and the smallest bit will get us through. So it's Friday. I'm catching up. It's going to get intense. Next week, we're going to hit the 1 million. So next week's going to be quite the week. So stay tuned. Brace yourselves. It can only get worse. Literally.